So it's been a while since I made a video, um, but I'm starting another channel mainly because the email associated with this channel no longer works. It's an email I used in community college, so it doesn't work anymore. So if I get logged out, I actually can't log back in. It seems like the link doesn't work, but my new channel name is just Depressed Physicist, and it has an icon of a black hole. I'll try and post another link in the description of this video, and see where that goes. But on that note, I kind of just wanted to talk a little bit more about depression and suicidal thoughts, because my depression and suicidal thoughts have come back, but I'm still in that phase where I'm tired of living but afraid to die. I feel like overall it doesn't matter what I do. If I try to change my days or my routine, it ultimately just feels like it's ultimately the same thing. It's like, using math lingo, each day is just isomorphic to the next one. You wake up, you do shit to try and distract yourself, whether that be work or some other activity, to distract yourself from the problems of society as a whole. And then you basically wind down for the day, go to sleep, and you just wake up and repeat. Our government is becoming basically a fascist regime. So there's that. We're cutting cancer research. We're cutting, food and medical aid to, deserving families, people who really rely on that shit. People are already dying as a result, and I don't understand it. I'm very fortunate in my life because I have a lot. I have a job at the moment. I have savings. I have a bunch of shit in my room. I have all the shit that's in my room doesn't even fit. I have to put it in another room because I have, a bunch of Legos. I have a bunch of clothes that I still have. So I'm very fortunate where I am. But I also try to just do what I can to give back to people. Like, whenever I'm out with friends, I don't mind paying for them. Whenever I'm out, just with anyone, if they need like a spot, someone just to spot them money so they can have a good time, I'm all for it, because I don't like having people feel left out. But I don't understand it. When's enough enough? Like, I feel like I have more than enough, and I just don't feel the urge or need to buy anything. Besides, of course, food and, maybe coffee. Really, that's it, essentials. Well, minus coffee, but, it's more of I can't endure withdrawal headaches. I've tried it before, and it sucks. So I'm hooked on coffee. At least until I wean off of it, but, it's just one of those things that I really want, regardless. And I don't feel like it's lucrative to really want coffee, so. But, I'm just thinking about all the harm that our government is doing to so many people. And there are still just evil people out there who defend this. We're just seeing a world where the villains win. And I keep wondering, what is the point in existing in this world? I'm fortunate that I have a job, but I just keep thinking that, at some point, due to these tariffs, I could get laid off, and then I'm stuck right back in the shitty job market. I'm stuck with 2 degrees that have no value or meaning to society, despite the fact they told me to go get one. And despite the fact that I was led to believe that a physics degree, let alone also an astronomy degree, would be invaluable to get jobs that are not even in that field, I was incredibly lucky to even get the job that I have now, even like a month and a half after I got laid off. I was incredibly lucky. I was not expecting it. I was expecting to be unemployed for months. I was expecting to start depleting through my savings. I haven't yet. I'm spending just about as much as I'm bringing in, though, so it's staying static. But that brings me to the next point, is that, I have all these things, but I feel like that's really all that I have to go and have fun. I know there are a lot of things out there that are free, but there are also things I like to do that cost money, like just go to coffee shops or bars or restaurants or even movies. And not even like fancy places, just places where I can go and hang out and be with other people. But that costs money. Which, fine, if it weren't for the fact that this job market is so volatile and that so many people are underpaid, that I can't really expect to get another job that pays above what I'm going to be making. At least not without really fighting for it, and I really don't have a lot of fight in me. I'm still here. That counts for something, but it's just, I can't stand the application process. It's so fucking exhausting. I can't stand trying to prove that I'm intelligent to a bunch of fucking mouth breathers who sit in Excel all day doing these simple, stupid, basic shit, who probably have forgotten a good chunk of the math they learned decades prior. Which, I don't blame you, but I'm one of those people that believes if you don't use it, you lose it. That's why I try to at least read or just study a little bit of math or physics each day. Granted, I would not say I am brilliant at them. I would say I'm at least adept enough to where I can figure out a problem. If it came to a point where I had to do it, and I had to do it without a calculator. But, I'm having these suicidal thoughts again. Now, granted, I don't have a plan. I'm not at that stage, but I'm at the stage where I'm trying to rationalize my decision. And I feel like this is the scary phase, because once you get past this phase, it's just about planning, and then you're in the rehearsal mode where you're just rehearsing for your death, and eventually you're just waiting until you get a successful one. And I'm trying to rationalize the pros of being here and the cons of not being here. The struggles that, I would have to see. Whether it just be through my own struggles or seeing other people struggle for no reason whatsoever. And it constantly brings me down. An example of something that just brings me down is every time I just go to listen to music on YouTube or watch videos, I'm bombarded with ads to try and monetize and privatize your life. And it's so fucking exhausting. I don't understand how people can do it. There are some people out there who are, big on YouTube, which is fine. And they make a shit ton of money, and they're happy doing it, but that's an exception, I feel, not the norm. And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying this as an expectation for this channel or even for just myself. It's just, why is it always about money in life? We have plenty of resources to go around for everyone on the planet. And by the way, I've actually learned recently, this could be false, but it seems more plausible than anything, that there are about 1 billion more people on this planet than previously thought, and we still have enough resources to help them. It's just the greedy fucks at the top that want to keep everything from us. And yet they somehow brainwash enough people to keep us fighting in this shitty system to still, just to still defend it. And, I don't know. This world is so fucking awful. We've had multiple chances to try and do better as a society, and we haven't. And I'm not trying to blame everything on society, because ultimately, when it comes to the human race, there are a lot of confounding factors. You can't just expect everyone to be good-natured. We had a period of time where things were good. You know, there was a period of time where capitalism was working. But then you had the 1% getting greedy, and they saw an opportunity, you know, back with Reagan, to start rolling back regulations and start, you know, funneling more and more money to the top and fuck everyone else. So no matter what, no matter how hard we try to make a good society, a perfect society, there's always going to be someone there to fuck it up. There's always going to be someone there who can lie and cheat their way to the top and fuck it up for everyone else. So it doesn't matter. But, you know, I feel like we as a society haven't really, you know, I don't want to sound condescending by saying we haven't tried enough. I think we've just been led to believe that this is normal. And that's why we haven't tried for so long. And it hurts to know that. But, you know, I'm rationalizing the pros and cons of being here. But another scary thing is that I'm just waiting for a catalyst to set me off. To actually go, like, jump from rationalizing to actually even maybe trying. But granted, nothing has happened yet for that to occur. And I feel like the catalyst has to be, you know, more than one event at a time. It has to be like a series of events in succession to get me to that point. But granted, I don't have, you know, for those of you concerned, I don't have plans. I'm trying, I'm in that thought process where I'm trying to rationalize my decision. And I haven't rationalized it. You know, I keep weighing the pros and cons, and it all keeps coming back to the big question of what if. You know, what if I'm still here? What could I witness that would change? That's the thing that really kind of keeps me going, are those two words, what if. But I don't know how long those words would hold. So I don't say this for sympathy or anything. I kind of want to understand, I guess, from the perspective of other people who have these thoughts or who even tried and survived and just have, you know, either changed or, you know, found a way to cope and go through life. Just, you know, I mean, I don't know what I'm really asking. I think I'm just trying to get it out there that, you know, for those of you who are experiencing these thoughts and these troubles, you know, you're not alone. And it's, you know, I've been watching a bunch of videos on, you know, people who have survived suicide and videos that rationalize not going through it. And there was one video that stood out to me. I can't remember the title of the video, but I think the video, if I recall, the video was about a man talking about his neighbor committing suicide. Now, I didn't pay attention to the first part of the video, mainly because I was doing a task I was listening to at the same time, so I kind of focused on the task more than listening. But jumping forward from what I gathered from the context, he was in his home when he heard a gunshot, because I kind of skipped forward to where he was, you know, on edge, you know, adrenaline pumping, he had a weapon ready, and he was going to investigate. So from there, I kind of just deduced that he heard a gunshot, and he thought, hey, something's going on, I need to go investigate. He found out that his neighbor committed suicide. And this neighbor seemed perfectly normal. Nothing seemed wrong. The neighbor, however, was alone, didn't have friends or family that came and visit. But he made a point that, you know, it's not about you, it's not about me. It's not about what we want in life. I think it's about the purpose of us being here. It doesn't really have to make sense other than we're here to serve one another and to leave behind a better world for the next generation. Our lives were meant to be lives of servitude, and there is nothing wrong with that. Now, granted, I would love for that to be the case if we didn't have to struggle so much, if we could just have the resources we need to survive, and then for those of us who have the ability to actually do more, we can be given more to help in that process. But that's just not the way the world works. But I'm kind of understanding where that mindset's coming from, that, it's not about you, but it's about what you can do for others. It's about what impacts you can make. How can you serve your community? How can you serve your world? And that's stuck with me for, the last few days since I've watched that video. But again, for those of you that are wondering, don't try and call for help. I mean, trust me, I've had wellness checks on me before. My police took 8 fucking hours to even get a wellness check out here, and my police department shit out here. So, no point. And especially given the state of things, no thanks. As far as a hospital, I've been in one before, and they don't give a fuck about you. If you're thinking about checking into a hospital, make sure it's at least a decent place. See what other people who have been in there have to say about it. Because the hospital that I was at was just utter shit. The techs did not seem well trained in how to handle difficult situations. Granted, I know their job is stressful, but we've literally had multiple inmates at the time I was staying there who were just violent and just lashing out. Other patients were terrified of these people. I wasn't really terrified because I wasn't afraid of someone trying to punch me or try to beat me up. I would say, no offense, I'm not trying to be a tough guy here, but I'd say good luck with that. I'm aware that I could probably take a beating, and I don't know how strong I am in a fight. I know how strong I am in the gym. And I know there's a difference between fighting, getting in an actual fight and fantasizing about it, even if you're strong. Sure. But, I would probably say it'd be difficult, getting in a fight with me. Unless you get a good, first shot, then hey, congrats. But I wasn't afraid in the hospital. But, I could understand the fears of the other patients, and I just thought to myself, why are most of the techs there also women? Why weren't there more male techs to help control the violent ones who are lashing out? It wasn't until they actually had a situation that they would actually send some of the male techs in, and a couple of them, looked like they needed a fucking ham sandwich. So that, and the food there was shit. Nutrition's everything, that much I know. I've been kind of neglecting my nutrition, and I know that doesn't really help with the whole depressive state of mind. I'm trying to fight that, because at the same time, I could hardly give a shit what happens to me. But the food there was awful. Was not conducive for anyone trying to be better mentally. And at the end of that stay, they tried to charge me $5,000 for a week's stay. I only ended up paying $500 because I had insurance, thankfully, at the time. Now I don't have insurance because, the job that I have, yeah, I'm lucky to have a job. I'm lucky that it even pays, what it pays. It's not great, but it's not horrible. But, this job couldn't afford, health insurance because they're a small company. So I have no health insurance. And I don't intend on getting health insurance because why the fuck am I paying into a system that can easily deny you a claim for a procedure that you might need, even though you've been paying into the system for, months, years, even decades? The fuck's the point? Makes no sense. So, I would just say, as far as the hospital goes, no. As far as wellness checks go, no. I'm also at a point where I really don't talk to people. I don't even try to engage in much conversation with my coworkers. I don't even really say good morning. I don't even really acknowledge people sometimes when they talk to me. I'll pretend like I don't hear them at first, especially if they're speaking low enough. I can make the conclusion, oh, they might just assume that I haven't heard them, and they'll stop talking. But only when they ask again or they talk to me again will I actually try to engage. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. I hope this at least helps someone out there. I think I'm still trying to rationalize things, but that one, the two words "what if," and as well as the idea of being around to serve others who are less fortunate than you, being around to serve and help the next generation move on, so that way they're better off, I think is probably the most compelling argument I've heard so far to remain alive. So, but again, I am still in that phase. So, you know, I don't really have much else to say. But anyway, I'll end it here. It's been a long one. I'll try and post a link to my other channel. But until then, I will talk to you guys later.